Leili and Majnun. Part 1. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Long ago, in a desert in Arabia, lived a wealthy man called Said Amri. He was the leader of the Banu Amr tribe. Said Amri was such a gentleman, generous to the poor and hospitable to strangers. Although Said Amri was as popular as a king in the desert, he felt unhappy. He believed that his name would perish without a son after him. Burning with the desire to have a son, he gave money to the poor in the hope of getting what he had in heart for years. Yet, his prayers remained unanswered. Perhaps he was not aware of the fact that lots of our wishes are not achieved for good reasons which are hidden to us. So many people would be better off if their wishes had not been granted. Said Amri didn't give up. He prayed and clamored day and night until God fulfilled his wish and gave him a baby. He was so content. He opened his treasury and gave people lots of money to celebrate his son's birth. Said Amri's night turned into day with his arrival. Qays, the baby, was handed to the best nurses in the desert to be nourished and taken care of the minute he was born. Each drop of milk he drank was carved into words of love in his heart. He became more and more attractive as he grew up day by day in the gardens full of beautiful trees and flowers. Qays was sent to school when he was 7. The students in the school came from different tribes of noble families in the desert. Everything was going fine and smoothly. It didn't take Qays long to learn how to read, as he was such a smart boy. When he read out from the book, it was as if pearls were coming out of his mouth. But then, one day, a girl who was as slim as a cypress tree and whose eyes were like those of deers entered the classroom and changed everything. Her name was Leili. When Leili opened the classroom door, Qays closed his book at once. It was the end of the school and the beginning of a new life for him. He had a feeling he had lost something. He was right. His heart was stolen. Afterward, he couldn't focus on what the angry teacher was saying, no matter how hard he tried to draw his attention. The children were learning reading and writing, whereas Leili and Qays were practicing the love alphabet. As days and months passed, they were getting more and more drowned into the ocean of love. They were so immersed in love that they didn't notice others. Everyone in school was talking about them. At first, the young lovers tried to deny their love and keep it a secret, but it was impossible. Soon everyone was calling Qays Majnun, meaning crazy, for he was madly in love with Leili. Leili's father forbade Leili from going to school anymore, as she brought scandal and shame to the tribe. Poor Majnun couldn't stand being without Leili. He was going real crazy. He was crying and walking around in the bazaar and the streets and reading out poems for his lover Leili. As soon as it got dark, he went around the Najd mountains where Leili lived and kissed her threshold and returned. When he was going, he was as fast as the wind. But when he wanted to come back, he walked so slowly as if there were tens of whales ahead of him to watch out. Majnun had a few friends like himself too. They were also in love. Sometimes he took them to the Najd mountains. He talked to them about nothing but the love of Leili. He climbed up the Najd mountains and ran here and there in the mountains and shouted Leili's name as loudly as he could. He remained silent for hours and waited for Leili's answer. Then he collapsed on the earth and wept for hours. In the morning, he returned home dead tired and depressed. Leili wasn't doing any better. She cried day and night in secret and hid her pain. Majnun was under a lot of pressure from everybody. His relatives were always scolding him. They gave him lots of advice to forget Leili, but all their efforts were in vain. His father, Said Amri, got really worried when he found out he was in love. Having discussed the matter with his family and relatives, he decided to go to Leili's father and ask for her hand in marriage to Majnun to end all the sorrow they were all suffering from. The next day, Said Amri and his relatives got on their camels and rode toward Leili's tribe. Leili's father welcomed them warmly. Said Amri greeted him, gave him the presents that he had bought, and went inside a beautiful tent to have a talk.